Welcome to Sailing in the Mediterranean and Beyond podcast. I'm your host. My name is Franz. All right, I'm back online with Brad Atkins, and I guess this is going to be part 2 of our discussion about sailing in the Bahamas. And the last time we talked, we were talking about, let me go back to my Google Maps so I can refind it. We were talking about Little Harbor. Now, I was going to ask you, so I never stayed in Little Harbor. The wind was coming from the north when we left
Okay.
last year, and we thought,
Yep.
well, there didn't seem to be very many places because that's a long open sound. When it starts blowing from the north, it can get pretty choppy in there. And we were
Yeah,
headed.
I'm inside of the little teeny harbor there right by Pete's Pub. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but we were not at high tide, so I didn't even want
Yeah,
to
you
try
can't.
getting
Yeah,
in there.
I wouldn't either. Nope, I wouldn't either.
So what we did is, and we were headed south anyway, and we needed a place to stay. So we went out through that cut right by north
Yep.
of Little Harbor, and went down the
Yes.
coast and around the corner to what looks like it's called Winding Bay or
Winding
Winnog
Bay. Yeah.
Bay, Winnog. But when I looked at my uh, guides, and I'm looking at no foreign lands and navionics and everything else, it doesn't really talk about that as an anchorage. And it was a delightful anchorage.
Yes, and that's yes. I have anchored in there on my way up from Nassau years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was just one of those days where everything just went slower and was a lot more energy, and so we just popped in there and anchored. It was wonderful. It was great. It was, of course, if you've got a wind coming from the southeast, it's probably terrible, but it was fine. It was great.
Yeah, yeah. And let me see, is there any other place? I guess that was it. No, and then there's actually it wasn't it was Cherokee Point. Do you see
Yep,
where that
sure.
is? A little farther down? That's where
Yes.
I
A
actually
little,
anchored
yep.
in.
Okay. Nope. I've actually anchored right in there by there's a resort in there. Yeah, I've anchored right in there. But yeah, so sure. Yeah. Same, as long as the wind's coming from the right direction, all of that's pretty well protected.
And it's surprising they don't even talk about that in the guides at all that I can find out. So, yeah. But I
So
thought,
yeah, and many people use aqua maps for the Bahamas. They say it's better.
hmm,
I guess I've become complacent and I'm just familiar, with the waters enough that I use that mostly that when I'm off watch for somebody to hold a line. So I'm not as familiar with the guides as I probably should be.
yeah, I tend to use no foreign lands, and as well as what's the other one? Oh, it'll come to me. Not Navionics. Anyway, there's another one that's pretty popular as well.
See people see
Oh, it's
yeah, I know of most of them.
yeah, yeah. All right. So what else do I need to cover in the Abacos if I'm going to spend a couple months up there
That
again?
is that is the Abacos, really, right there. And so that to me is you can fill an entire season with that. But I do by the way, coming around south, Sandy Point is a very much a locals place. The Sandy Point is where the locals go for beach weekends, that type of thing. It's also a great part of the world, but I don't get around there really ever. I've done it one time.
Yeah.
So I will leave then once a year, and I'll come down. I'll sail down to Spanish Wells, and I'll work my way down the Exumas to Georgetown, and then from there, I'll leave Georgetown, work my way back up to all the same haunts: Daniel Key and Highborn Key and Shroud, and all the Exumas Land and Sea Park, and then I'll shoot over to Nassau, where I'll generally get an oil change and some maintenance, and then whatever I need to be comfortable, and then I'll shoot back across the Gulf Stream to um to Lake Worth, or I mean I have shot all the way home to Charleston before. If the weather's right and you're moving along, making good time, that's a nice sail because you're in the Gulf Stream with the current. So sometimes I'm covering, 13, 14, 15 knots over speed over ground, which is, you're just smoking it. It's kind of fun.
So if you don't go all the way, where do you tend to stop in? Where do you go?
I go back to Lake Worth, and the reason that I do, so if you zoom in on West Palm Beach, just north of West Palm Beach is a town called Riviera Beach.
Okay.
And the Lake Worth Inlet is right there, is there. It's the only inlet kind of in the area, if you see that. And it's on the north end of Palm Beach, the south end of Fisher's, I think it's Fisher's Island is what they call that. And right as you get in the inlet is a little island called Peanut Island. And Peanut Island is interesting. That's where they built a compound for John F. Kennedy in case of a nuclear. Well, I don't know what I mean. I don't know what it was in case of, but it's now a public park. It's kind of cool. Um, and you
Okay,
have
so hold on
all
here. I'm I'm at Riviera Beach. Is it farther north or south of Riviera
Nope.
Beach?
So it's south on the south end of Riviera Beach, and
Okay.
on the intracoastal, you'll see a little island there,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where the inlet is, and that's Peanut Island.
That's okay. That's Peanut. Yeah, okay, it says Peanut Island here as I'm looking at it. Okay. And I
Yeah,
anchored just to the south of that when I came in. Um,
that's why I go there. So you can come in there, and it can be just like Georgetown, where you've just got hundreds of boats anchored, and I don't even know where you'd find a spot. Um, and you're not going to find economical dockage here
yeah.
if you have to go to a dock. If I do have to go to a dock, I'll go all the way down to West Palm, and I'll go to the Palm Harbor Marina inside of the bridge on the north side, and it is the least painful of the marinas in the area, and I think it's the most conveniently located because you can walk to dinner or whatever, and you can walk to the beach. You can, uh, but there's nothing economical about it whatsoever. It's just a eye-wateringly expensive part of the world, so you just have to know that's what you're signing up for.
So just north of the bridge there is where you stop in. There's a marina right there. It says Palm Beach Yacht Club. Is that the one you're talking about?
Just south of the bridge, I go to
Oh, just south
I
of
don't
it.
know if that's,
Okay.
yeah, south of the bridge. So I wait,
Okay.
let it open, and I go to Palm Harbor Marina.
Okay. It's a big marina too. I'm looking at it. So
It is big. The smallest dock they have, you see those small boats up north. I think those are 90-foot docks. Uh,
okay. All right. Yeah. My friend, when he had a power boat, he had his boat at the Palm Beach Yacht Club, and because he was a member of another yacht club. So I've been to that one on somebody else's boat, but not on my own boat. Okay, but
I
when I
think
went
I've picked up. I
north, when
think I picked up crew there one time, and or maybe it's the one south of there. And just not when I say crew, just folks that were going to make the crossing across the Gulf Stream with me. And I think I got yelled off, like hollered off that, like, no, you can't even pick somebody up here. So we ended up getting her somewhere else.
yeah, yeah. All right, so let me talk to you about Spanish Wells. I didn't go there last year. I headed to the islands just east of Nassau. I didn't want to go to Nassau, and 'cause I didn't want the headaches of a big town. So there's some islands just to the east of Nassau, and I anchored there. Let's see, what's the name of this island here? Uh, Rose Island. Yeah, Rose Island.
Yeah.
And then headed straight up to the Abacos in the middle of the night from there because it was an overnight passage. And I looked at going over to Spanish Wells, but I never did. Is Can you get through there? I mean, I looked at that and I thought, well,
You
boy,
can
that's
get through
really
there.
okay.
Yeah, you can. Now, I tell you what I do, which is I've always hit Spanish whales from the north.
Uh-huh.
Oops, I made a little mark there. I didn't want to do. Hit Spanish whales from the north, and then I sail around to the west and into a little bay there on Royal Island. If we're looking at the same data, you'll see the Royal Island Resort, which is not really a resort. And I mean, I think it's just a pin drop. Um, and there's a bay there. So I am, let's see, if you go Spanish Wells, you go over to Sawyer's Key and then Royal Island, and there's a wonderfully protected bay there. And I will
Okay.
get my nature fix there because it was wonderful. It is protected. It's gorgeous. I mean, I've never seen another boat in there. It's deep water. It's amazing. But
Okay,
you're
so let me
alone.
let me make sure I'm following you. So I'm looking at Spanish Wells. I'm going
Yep.
directly west along what looks like another island there. It looks
Yep.
like it's Russell Island, right to the very west side of that. And are you talking around the corner to Sawyer's Key? Is that where you're
Let me
talking
see.
about?
Where's it? Yep. Keep going past Sawyer's
Okay. So
down to Egg Island,
farther to the east then from Sawyer's Key?
or fire to the west. Keep going west from
Okay.
Sawyer's,
Okay. All
and
right.
should see Royal Island.
Royal Island, right. Okay.
Yes. All right. You see that inlet there on Royal Island? So I've got to go all the way around the little peninsula there, and I come back into Royal Island.
Okay, so are you going to the north of that? Because it looks really shallow to the north. How are you getting in
Yeah,
there?
I'm going pretty far out of. There's a place called Chandler's Island somewhere out there. I'm going north of all of that, and I'm circling around, and I'm heading from the south back up north into that bay in Royal
Okay.
Island.
Okay. So you're heading all the way to the west of what's this island here? Um,
Egg is the
Egg
last one.
Island, Egg
Yeah.
Island. So
Yeah.
coming around that to get up there then. All right. Yeah.
Yes.
And that little bay you're talking about is what you're talking about in there. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't know that it has a name. I don't remember exactly who turned me on to it, but it's an amazing, place to just, even if you just spend it. I mean, you're going, it's 6 knots, you're going, 6, 8 hours out of your way to get there, but I do it.
Okay. And so from there, how do you get down to the Exumas in?
So from there, I head due south and I've, follow the magenta line basically on what's our app called? On Navionics.
Avionics, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Um, and so from there, my next stop is usually Highborn Key,
Okay.
which since I'm not on Navionics, I'm going to have to figure this out. And then you do a little darting around, I mean, it's due south. You do have to stay west before you cut back east in order to get to Highborn. But you got a ship channel key, and then the next one's Highborn Key.
I'm seeing, so there looks like there's a cut that you can get through south of Eleuthera. Is that what we're talking about?
No, so come back
This is
west.
probably boring as hell to anybody listening to this podcast, but
Yeah, I know,
if
right?
you're getting on this podcast, get on Google Earth and watch us as what
I
we're
know, right?
talking
And
here.
follow. We should screen share, right? Is what we should have done. So
Yeah.
come west of Eleuthera and get over to the Exuma chain, and Highborn Key. If you stick in the search for Highborn Key Marina, it'll
Okay.
suck you over there. Highbourne Cay. It'll take you over there. It's interesting.
Yeah, there it is. Okay.
So that is a resort that is entirely solar powered, and there's really no reason that you would go
Oh,
there
wow. Okay.
if you weren't a bazillionaire. But it has a wonderful restaurant called Zuma's, and that's one of my, like, if you're going to do a big meal with some friends for the week, this would be one of them. and they've got a great beach and a bunch of sharks, and they've got a beach club, and they don't care if you're staying there or not. They give you full reign of the island, and super nice people, and that's a great way. To me, it's better on the way back home to stop there for one last anchorage. So I anchor right on the inlet and or on the inside, I'm sorry, and then I'll head to Nassau from there on the way home sometimes. But that's a great little key. And then I'd start working my way right down the Exuma chain. Um, and I can take you, just tell me how you want me to go. But Highborn I anchor one night. It's a one meal thing, and check out the island, and then I'm back and heading south in the direction of Norman's Key.
Okay.
Um,
So on Highburn Key, are you staying at that marina there, that little marina on the south side?
no, I'm
No?
anchoring out. I think that marina, if I remember correctly, is not quite $20 a foot per night, and they're going to charge me one and a half times that because I'm a catamaran.
Yeah. So you anchor just to the east of that, just around
Just to
that
the east.
peninsula.
Yep.
Yep.
And
Okay.
you'll be one of a half a dozen or more boats anchored right there.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. See, I didn't get to this side of the Bahamas at all when I came up
Oh,
last year.
okay.
So
Oh,
this is all
highly
new to me.
recommended. Yeah, yeah. This to me is more of a, well, I'll walk you through it if we have time. So I'll go south from there, and then there's a little key that's kind of interesting. And I can't remember the name of it. Right there's a key there that's just totally inhabited by lizards. It's kind of funny, and it's I'm
The
some version
iguanas
of how
then.
I imagine, growing up or living in the South. We're like, we're more fishing and hunting than we are golf and sailing.
Mhm.
But I never really have adapted to reptiles. So I let the kids and my guests go play with the lizards, and I'll cook lunch. Um, but so heading south, the next stop for me from there is Norman's Key,
Okay.
which I've lost track of.
I'm looking at it right now. There's a big airport there on
There's
the
a
south
big
end of it.
airport. I'll tell you an interesting story about that. But what it's known for is the guy that didn't make the airport. And there's a plane crash, which you can see. You probably can see on Google Earth. I can't see it on Google Maps, but um, there's a plane crash on I don't know how to describe it without just giving you coordinates, but just to the west of the airport, you can see kind of a deeper water. I'm
Hmm.
sorry, just to the east of the airport, you can see deeper water that comes in from the Atlantic. And right in there somewhere, you may be able to see some boats hovering around a plane crash, which is the legend has it, if you go to Wikipedia, that it was a drug run that went afoul. Um, but Norman's Key Marina is very, very nice. I've never been in there on the boat, but I've dinghied in. And McDuff's is a decent restaurant. But really, what you're there for at Norman's is to anchor on the east side or west side, sorry, and go snorkel the drug dealer's plane that crashed.
Okay. Is it deep enough to anchor on the east side of that? Just
Yes.
north
Yep.
of the
You'll see. So funny story is, very first time that I went there, I didn't realize there was an airport of that size. And so I see a very, relatively, I mean, a large jet. I mean, we're not talking a Learjet. I mean, a large jet. And it's on the runway. And I said to my friend's wife, I said, wow, I didn't realize there must be like maybe a museum or something that attributed to this plane crash. And it starts moving and takes off. And the next thing I know, a helicopter's coming in. And the helicopter lands and then takes right back off. And I look over, and there's this massive private yacht. And it's the CEO of Harbor Freight.
Oh,
And
really?
we basically mirrored each other right down the key. I mean, so at the Land and Sea Park, we saw each other again, and we actually, by the time we got down to Georgetown area, we knew their crew by first name. Never met the guy, but we
Well,
but we knew that we were friendly with the crew by first name, and they even took us. They ran us into shore one time. So they it's and that is the Exumas actually, as you'll
Yeah.
You'll kind of hook up with these other yacht or yachty folks or the other sailors, and we borrowed some down here when we get down to Shroud Key is a spot where we borrowed somebody's or my one of my passengers, one of my the guys I was entertaining, he borrowed somebody's like kiteboard, and so you just kind of settle into um, getting to know these folks, and so it's wonderful, like lifetime memories for sure over the last just few years.
Well, what the heck is the purpose of that airport there? I mean, that's a huge airport.
No, so yeah, no, that's where you come in and out, and you grab your boat at that marina. If you're,
Oh,
of greater means than myself.
so it's basically for the billionaires then, huh?
For the billionaires, yeah. So you can come in. So these boats out of like Highborn, you could come down in your 250-foot boat and grab the owner out of that airport, and you can fly. I mean, I haven't looked at the specs of that, and I'm dangerously familiar with airplane specs, but that's probably a 7,000 or 10,000 foot runway, which means you could get an Embraer. I mean, you could get a big plane in there.
Well, I'm measuring it right now on Google Earth, and it is 4,700 foot runway. So
Yeah, so that's not as big as I thought, but that you can get a pretty big plane in there.
yeah, yeah. Okay, 4,700 feet.
So
Okay.
now all of these next trips are like short little jumps. I mean, sometimes you're looking at like, should we just sail around for a little bit to occupy some time? Because I'll
Hmm.
leave Norman's then, which again at Norman's, I'm going to McDuff's for food and I'm going to diving the plane crash. And I'll wade over or whatever to the Atlantic side. It's kind of neat over there. And there's just all kinds of questionable, like drug history and legend and lore. I don't know how much of it is true. Um, but it's kind of neat. And then from there, we'll go down to Shroud Key, which
Well,
is just
hold on.
south
Let
of
me
there.
ask you a question. So you're anchored
Yeah.
over there. You take the dinghy to shore, or is there a dinghy dock inside that you just tie up to? And can you
Yes.
walk right across the runway, or is it barbed wire on both sides? Because Duff's is
I
on the other
don't
side of the
remember
world.
that. It is, yeah. No, no. I went straight to McDuff's.
Okay. So you just
Yep,
walked
straight to
across the runway.
McDuff's.
Okay.
No, I dinghied to beached it at McDuff's.
Ah, okay. The other side then.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. I have been in the marina, and now that you're refreshing my memory, I went in the marina to. I couldn't hail them on the radio, and so I went into the marina to ask if they had space, and they did not.
Okay. Okay. Looks like there's plenty of space, but you've got to be a pretty big boat to go in there, it looks like. So,
Yeah, well, and so I'm my being a catamaran, right? I'm wider than I have. They're like, well, you're just a 45-foot boat. I'm like, oh, I'm 26 feet wide is kind of the issue.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
uh, so
Well,
that's fun. These are generally kind of quick stops. What Shroud Key is known for is there's a water that little waterway that you can get on the dinghy and take this waterway all the way through the island, which is kind of neat. And stand up paddle boards. Forgot we've done that more than once or twice. Um, and you get so now we're into hiking.
oh
So
yeah, I see
if I'm
that.
doing the Exumas,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just got to Shroud Key, so I'm seeing that. Yeah, you can, yeah, waterway all the way through. So dinghy through there or whatever. I guess, yeah. But doesn't look like
it's
there's,
neat.
yeah, doesn't look like there's
So
anybody on
that
this
is a
island.
day of so we just you just snorkeled the plane crash and ate, and then come and generally it will anchor at Shroud, and then a day in Shroud is a day it's up and breakfast on the boat, and then a day of stand up paddleboard and beaching and hiking and dinghying, and then with a lunch, a picnic lunch and dinner on the boat, or if you want to start moving south before sunset, whatever you can. But we're getting much less like bar, restaurant, beach, and more into hiking and
Hmm.
outdoor activities than we were in the in the Abacos.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you ever stop in Hawksbill Key? I want
I
to say K because it's spelled K, but it's Key.
I know it is. If the locals say the locals say key, and then I had a friend. Ashley, who I've become very friendly with up in Hopetown, he explained to me that key, spelled Cay, is the old Spanish word for key, and so they just spell it Cay instead of Key like we do in
Hmm.
English, but it is in fact key.
Yeah.
So
Or Quay, Quay. That's they still
yeah,
pronounce
could be,
key.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so then we get down into the Land and Sea Park, which is well, just keep going south till it says Land and Sea Park.
Okay. I'm looking at
I think
Hawksbill
that's
Key, not Hawksbill Key. So we're going to
yeah,
continue on
keep going south of there.
Cistern Key, Saddle Key, Danger Key. Uh,
Wardrick Wells is the Land and Sea Park, and there's two really cool things here.
what's it called? Wadrick Wells?
Wardrick, Wardwick.
Wells. Okay.
It'll suck you right in if you put that in the
Uh,
search bar.
Okay. Search. Oh yeah. Okay. It's called Shroud Keys then, huh?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
they're all called Shroud, I think, along this way. But if you
Ah.
zoom in on the north side of that key,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see a little river with some deep water right there, and you'll see boats anchored in there.
Yeah. Okay. I've been here. I anchored around the
Okay,
south
yeah.
side because
Yep.
that was because it's a real strong current going through there if, on the wrong tide. So I went, I anchored. You had to pick up and pay for a mooring ball in here. So I
Yes.
was
Right.
around the
Yeah, yeah,
corner and
yeah.
towards a east of that bay to the south of that.
You actually, now that you say that, you have to pay to anchor there.
You do.
I had to
You,
go.
you,
Yeah, I paid to go. I went in and paid to anchor, and I mean, worth every penny. I mean, the best analogy that my friend Nick and I could come up with was it was like God had just poured out a bottle of Hendrick's gin, and that's what the water looked
it
like.
is. It's gorgeous water through there. Yes.
But being able to anchor in that little river, I've never gotten there early enough to be able to do it. So this year, that's kind of my goal is to, even if I have to kind of hang out and wait, I want to go, anchor or grab the mooring ball in that little river. And then, did you climb up to Boo Boo Hill then?
I did not. We anchored there
Okay.
to the in that bay to the southeast of well, and then we had to dinghy over to go pay our bill at that the dock over.
Yeah.
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 And there was
So
a
then we
pretty
hiked
strong
up
current
to,
running out of that the south pass of that when we went up there. So
I take that for granted. We've got anywhere from a 6 to sometimes 9 foot tidal change here in Charleston. So I'm just used to really bad current. I sometimes get complimented on my docking skills because I'm just used to be having to dock in crazy current. But you're right that those boats swing around pretty good in that current. Um, but so Boo Boo Hill, the I don't know what the history is of it, but you walk up to Boo Boo Hill and you're supposed to leave a piece of your boat for good luck up on Boo Boo Hill. And so I've got my boat's a 2021. It's she's been well used, but and I take care of her pretty good. So I didn't have anything I wanted to take off of the boat. So I put an old uh, a snorkel, or pair of fins, a slipper that had been busted up, and of course my daughter, who's she pointed out that I just left like microplastic or whatever is going to become microplastics in the sea and kill all the sea turtles or whatever. And I said, Hannah, if you think we're going back after that, you're crazy. So we left that there, and that was our donation to Boo Boo Hill. But there's a really cool a couple. I think there's more than one cool places you can hike down to where when the waves are coming in, they actually hit and they shoot up through the rock formation. So I guess it's coral, I guess, in that archipelago. But it shoots up, and it's really quite fascinating to see, and just the power of the water, shooting up 20, 30 feet, and then another, through this hole, and then another 20, feet in the air. It's kind of neat.
yeah, yeah. So now we're starting to cover some of the area I've been to before, but uh so like I said, that was a night stop for us before we headed north, quite a bit farther north from there. So that's good. Oh, we got 10 minutes left. I just got this notice from Zoom. So, okay.
Mhm.
All right. So
Well, I don't
continue
have
on
much
then.
from you south from there. So from there, we sailed out, somehow got on the outside. I do remember we went to Foul Key on one trip, but I can't say that I've got Compass Key. It's great. There's Compass Key, which is compass, but call it compass. Is neat. There's a bunch of, you go into the marina area and there you swim with the sharks. There are sharks in there. That's kind of neat. Good photo op.
Hmm.
Sorry, I'm going fast now. Compass Key, and then I'm sorry, and then you get to Staniel. Staniel's. Have you been there?
I have to go look because I remember when I look at it, Staniel's Key. Is that where the pigs are?
Yes, just north of Staniel is the pigs, and then but Staniel Key is known for Thunderball Grotto,
Oh,
which is where they
yes.
filmed the James Bond movie. That's pretty neat.
That's just north of that is where I got ran aground. So I
Okay.
came through the
Okay.
cut and went through the north end up around Foul Key Resort. And
Yep.
just right there is where I ran aground and some people dragged me off. So
Oh, well, that's nice.
I couldn't believe how narrow that cut is to get into that area. I mean, it felt like I
I,
was,
I'm always, I mean, I'm kind of a sissy when it comes to just shallow and narrow. Yes, yes, I came in from the outside there one time, and I think what I determined is I'm not doing that anymore. That I'm gonna go in and out further south, but I think it's called like Farmers.
yeah, you can come around south and you go right through Thunderball Grotto and out the south and around that way. But
Yeah,
uh, but yeah, I was following my you see if you look on Google Earth, you can see a real white sand spit, and I just drove right up on it. Just drove right up
yeah.
on it.
The good news is you, it's sand.
Yeah. Yeah. I jump in the water and I'm standing on the bottom. Yeah. So,
Yeah, and you can continue to explore. There's some amazing things, over yonder, which is just north of there, is like an eco resort of billionaires, and it's I guess
mhm.
probably I'm in the being in the business I'm in, I probably should spend more. I could justify spending more time on there. I'm just terrible at sales. Um, the Thunderbolt Grotto, yeah, and then Stano Key, another. Now that's a public airport. I mean, not when I say public, that's a commercial airport. My dad has flown in and out of there to catch up with us from time to time over the years. And I've also sailed or flown kids home from there, and they fly, I think to Lauderdale.
From
Yes, that's
from Samson
so
from
it
Samson Key, there's an airport there.
no, from Staniel Key, from
Oh,
Staniel. Yeah, so you can fly to Lauderdale, and it's a fixed price of I think $400 each way, or for a ticket.
oh
But you,
yeah.
you can go to Lauderdale and then get on like one of the discount carriers and fly direct to Charleston for like $100. So like all things being equal, it's not terribly expensive. And so that's a great place to swap crew in and out. Uh, um,
Okay. Because that's what I'm always
and
looking
yeah,
for is where can people join me? How can they get to me? It's
yes.
and
Well,
when
at
I
that point, so Georgetown is the same as, you can get to Georgetown through Atlanta, Charlotte, Miami, or Atlanta on American
mhm.
or Delta, amongst others as well. So, for you and I mean, if you're in the Bahamas, you can fly Bahamas Air and from Nassau, but for us, it's American kind of owns that part of the world. So I switched from Delta to American Airlines a couple of years ago, and that's another podcast.
Because that's where you're flying in and out of. Yeah. I was amazed. I really enjoyed Georgetown because they have this whole
Oh, I did
community
too.
that just lives there. I mean, they all these people go down there and anchor their boat and live there for 2 months and don't even go anywhere. It seems like there's a lot of people that just live there.
On the calls, on the VHF calls in the morning, the
Hmm.
cruisers net in the morning, they'll, they say the number of boats, it's hundreds and hundreds of boats. And then you've got Hurricane Hole 1 and Hurricane Hole 2, where I have friends that have left boats. I'm not as comfortable doing it there as I am in Hopetown. Um, and Georgetown, yes, and one of the few places that, and now I'm not good at it, but I do enjoy playing golf. It's one of the few places that if my dad comes, I'll say, grab your golf clubs, go to the house, grab my golf clubs and bring them because we can play golf down there together, which is fun. As my dad, gets up in the years, it's fun to play golf in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
So I leave then Staniel and I go then straight down to Georgetown. So I'll
Okay.
pop out at Little Farmer's Key. It's got a little more depth. Just south of there, if you want to pop in, which I have done at, I don't know what he calls it publicly, but it's Rudder Key and David Copperfield. That's where that mermaid is playing the piano underwater. I've popped in there more than once. I don't, if you haven't done it, you're not missing much. If you have done it, you probably don't do it twice. And the current does rip pretty good through there. So if you're gonna do that, time it around. Do the snorkel around low tide and read the books on where it's located. Because I went one time and we couldn't even find it. And I'd been there before. I went
Yeah.
another time and his staff was taking some guests to it, and that's the only reason I found it. So as I continue down on the outside, then we finally get down to Stocking Island and then cut in towards Georgetown.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and then we end up in, that is quintessentially the cruising grounds of the Bahamas, right? I mean, it's Georgetown's great. It doesn't have the little settlement downtown area as much as like Elbow Key does at Hopetown, but
No,
it
it really
has
is sort of
a
disappointing. I was surprised. It was sort of like you've got a lot of houses all the way north to the airport along there, and but really not much of a town. Except they did have a great grocery store in there.
they've got a Salmon's there, yeah, and they've got a fish fry, which is
Hmm.
it's we say fish fry, and you and I think like church on Friday or whatever, but that means a bunch of little small restaurants and huts that vary it from dirt floors to maybe white tablecloth, maybe close-ish, maybe to white tablecloth, and live music, and all kinds of a lot of energy, and so it's a great little community fish fry. And the only two that I'm really familiar with is Nassau has one that's great, but to your point, Nassau is a big town, and then Georgetown had a great fish fry, which is this, there's none of these would pass fire code in America.
Yeah, that's true. Now, when I was on, let me zoom up here on Grand Bahama. Um there was a great fish fry at what's the name of the town there? Um,
And Freeport.
yeah, I think so. Let me
Huh.
zoom in on
I
Freeport.
mean, that makes sense because there's a big one in Nassau, and that's the safe part of Nassau. I mean, well, I mean, all the crime in Nassau, it's just, it's the same as America. It's, well, maybe not the same anymore, but the tu crime on tourists is almost non-existent. So when you hear about Nassau being dangerous, it's not dangerous unless you're going to, do things you probably shouldn't be doing.
Well, Zoom cut me off again. That was pretty much the end of the interview. We went on for a little while longer, but it made no sense. Right. We are back here for part two of the interview with Brad Atkins. We got cut off with the Zoom on the first part of the interview, and I just haven't wanted to spend the money to pay for a service that's better because I really don't make any money on this podcast. And I am not putting enough out to justify a monthly subscription to some of these companies that basically are replacing what Skype did for free. And if you have some suggestions, also write me at franz1@medsailor.com. But I'm looking for basically the software or the web service that lets me record two different sides of a conversation then merge them together when I'm doing my post-production. That is free, and Skype was ideal for that for many years, and then they just quit working. And they stole about $10 of my money as well. All right, here's the continuing interview with Brad Atkins. So I cut it off there. And I want to thank Brad for coming on to the podcast and imparting some of his knowledge about the Bahamas to us. And I hope to get him back again soon. If you have any suggestions for guests that would be interesting that I could interview, write me franz1@medsailor.com. Thank you. If you find any of this content valuable and you would like to support the podcast, the easiest way to do it is to go to the website, medsailor.com, and buy some of the audio lessons I've prepared for learning to sail. I have lessons for the ASA 101, the 103, and the 104. The website for sailing in the Mediterranean and beyond is www.medsailor.com. Again, medsailor.com. Life is short. In the end, all that really matters is the memories you make. So make a few. Go sailing.